My name is Emily Marsay from the University of Exeter in England. On behalf of GWNet, the Global Women's Network for the Energy Transition, I am presenting our next portrait for the Energy Transition Role Model Series. This initiative is supported by the German Federal Ministry for Economic Affairs and Energy. Today, we are joined by Katherine Lucey, who is the founder and chief executive officer of Solar Sister. Katherine is a Schwab Foundation Entrepreneur of the Year, and a Shaker Fellow, and a Draper Richards Kaplan Foundation Entrepreneur. She has received recognition and awards for her work with Solar Sister, including Clinton Global Initiative, Social Venture Network, C3E, and International Centre for Research on Women, ICRW, Champion of Change Award. She holds an MBA from Georgia State University and a bachelor's degree in journalism from the University of Georgia. Prior to becoming a social entrepreneur, Katherine spent over 20 years as an investment banker on Wall Street, providing structured finance solutions to the energy sector. Welcome, Katherine. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
I thought we'd get started by discussing your journey to where you are today. Right. So could you talk us through what your journey to sustainable energy entrepreneurship has looked like?
Yeah, so it's been a crooked road to get to where I am today. I started out in banking many years ago and ended up in the energy sector in banking, doing highly structured transactions for large-scale power plants, building those internationally. And through that experience, really got to see how energy is essential for the development of any country. I left banking to stay home with the kids, and realized pretty quickly that I needed to get back into doing something more than just baking cookies or staying home. So I got involved with a small family foundation that was doing rural electrification in Uganda and putting solar on clinics and schools throughout Uganda through just a summer mission trip kind of organization. But through that, I got to see on the ground, at the household level and at the, local clinic level, what I knew to be true at a large scale infrastructure level, which is that no one can move into modern era without electricity. I got to see how that played out at an individual house. And so by giving someone even something as small as a 10-watt panel that allowed them to, a single light bulb and maybe a socket that they could charge up a radio or a fan or something, completely transformed lives. And around this time, this is around 2006, I guess, around that time, there was a big transformation in design of solar products. And so the prices of the solar was coming down rapidly, and the design moved from being only larger panels, batteries, inverters, systems into very small integrated solar products. Made it very affordable, very appropriate, and very rugged for distribution in these very last mile communities that I was working with that organization in Uganda. And that became just an obvious situation of like, well, we've got the solution here. We have this clean energy. It's affordable, it's available, it's appropriate. Why isn't it taken up by everyone? Why isn't this happening as rapidly as it should? And looking at that question, it really became an issue of its distribution. People living in rural communities in Uganda didn't know that the products existed. They didn't really trust them, even if they did know about it, because there'd been a lot of, false promises about solar and things like that. And they'd seen product come and then not be supported and said that they didn't really trust it. And then thirdly, it just wasn't available in their communities. Solving for that really became the beginning of Solar Sister, which is an organization that works with local women to help them build businesses that deliver clean energy to their communities. And so we recruit, train, and support women to with technology skills and knowledge, and business skills and knowledge, and self-agency, to believe in themselves that they can actually be a business technology solution for their community and run a business and earn money. And it's this network of women entrepreneurs then that is closing that gap, both the marketing and the last mile distribution gap, through local women's entrepreneurship.
And what would you say is your biggest motivation in your day-to-day work?
So it started out very much of an energy access, but over time, I'd have to say that's really changed, because by working with local women as entrepreneurs, which is our method of delivering the energy access. I think my daily motivation comes from those women. They are amazing. They're amazing entrepreneurs. They're creative. They're brilliant at understanding their local communities and tapping into the relationships they have in those local communities. They're so passionate about the work that they do that they inspire me every day. I mean, we talk about social entrepreneurship is combining business with a social outcome. And when I look at the women, the Solar Sister entrepreneurs, that is exactly what they are. They are social entrepreneurs because while they're earning income that they use to invest in their business and take care of their family, and you know, it has this whole ripple effect of impact that's amazing. Their motivation is also what they're doing to benefit their community. So they're not solely money motivated. They are benefiting from the money that they make in the business, but they also have this really strong sense of bringing the benefits of clean energy to their community, of knowing that you know, their neighbor is never again going to lose their entire thatched roof house because they were burning kerosene lamps and it burnt down, or that, you know, the children in their community won't have burns from having played too close or studied with a kerosene lamp. And so it's that that social impact that really drives them, and in turn really drives me.
Yeah, that's really inspiring. So you might have encountered some challenges along the way. Could you maybe describe to us what your severest hurdle has been so far, but also your proudest success?
Yeah. So I would say there's daily challenges. I think working in the last mile, which is, you know, geographically difficult. You know, it's we're talking about communities where the roads end, you know, and then you're going beyond that into where there's pathways or walking and things like that. So, you know, working in really difficult, logistically difficult situation and trying to build a business that is supportive and really an ecosystem of support for the entrepreneurs is what we're providing them. And so helping them solve their challenges of how do they expand their market when it is so geographically challenging and customers are widely dispersed, or customers really don't have much money to spend. And even if it makes great economic sense over the long term, if you don't have that cash in your pocket today, how do you solve that? And so really working with our entrepreneurs to make sure that they are solving these very real, very immediate challenges to their businesses. I think the other big challenge for us on a bigger level has been one of the greatest, you know, what is a really fantastic progress in the solar industry is that the pricing of the product has continued to come down. So over the 10 years that we've been working in this market, product price has dropped by 70%, probably 75%. So things that we sold 10 years ago that would have cost $20 now cost $4. And that makes it increasingly affordable for our customers, especially because we're working with very poor customers, which is fantastic news. But it makes it very difficult for our entrepreneurs to continue to yeah, they're going to have to sell 5 times as much product and, you know, 5 times as many sales just to make that same amount of money. And so helping entrepreneurs navigate this rapidly changing market where the products are changing all the time. There's always new product coming into the market, new suppliers coming into the market. The prices are changing all the time. Suppliers are going out of business and leaving the market, and really helping to smooth out all of those challenges for them that's, you know, that are caused both by opportunities, but also make it a very dynamic, challenging environment to build a business in. And I think our biggest success is related to that. Is our biggest success is that we have continued to grow our network of entrepreneurs. We have over 4,500 entrepreneurs now throughout Nigeria and Tanzania, 2 very difficult and very large countries to work in. And we continue to grow and continue to support them and continue to improve each and every day of how we provide them support. And so I think, you know, survival is a big success in the first place.
Yeah.
We're still here 10 years later, and
Yeah.
and continuing to thrive and grow and find new ways to meet the challenges that we continue to see every single day. So I think our
Yeah.
resilience maybe is a biggest success.
And in terms of your career, what career paths could lead other young women towards entrepreneurial activities like yours?
Wow. So my career path was very much in big corporate bank. But I do think part of that, even though it was in a big institution, um, I- my job was itself quite entrepreneurial. It was very project focused. It was very much puzzle solving and, you know, meeting challenges head on. There was not a lot of bureaucracy. It was really, you know, roll up your sleeves and make things happen. And so I found that to be, I loved it while I was doing it. I loved my work. I loved my job, and it really fed me, you know, in a lot of ways. And the skills that I learned in doing that completely directly apply to the entrepreneurship work that I'm doing now. Building a social enterprise is entrepreneurial, you know, because you are meeting, you know, it's every day is a new challenge. Every day is a new, you know, solution that you have to figure out, and that resilience and the consistency and the persistence all come into play. So I think, you know, continuing to be curious, and then going down those paths of, you know, figuring out what's next and answering those questions, and persistence and resilience and stubbornness, I think, are all the skills that really make for an entrepreneur, and creativity and stuff. And I think that because of that, there's no single path that leads to entrepreneurship. I think it's like all paths lead there if that's where you're headed.
Yeah. And based on your experience, what are the opportunities for women wanting to make a difference as sustainable energy entrepreneurs at the moment?
I think that it is so important for women to get involved in this industry and to get involved with sustainability and understanding how we're half the planet's population. We need to be, you know, definitely half the solution, and, you know, all of that intellectual and energy that we can bring to problem solving and to, you know, creating solutions that will address the issues. And I think we women even have a stronger position in this, because we are so connected to our communities, to our families, to each other, to the planet. You know, often, you know, you hear things like, I think it's something like 70 or 80% of the world's farmers are women, even though they hold such little land as assets, but who's doing the actual work are the women. And so women are literally up to their elbows in climate change. You know, we're the ones that are being impacted the most by it, often because of economic inequalities and cultural inequalities. Women are often impacted more than men are by climate change issues. And so it's imperative that women get involved and be part of the solution. And I think, you know, if you know, Donna in Uganda or, you know, Regina in Tanzania can commit herself and her work and her purpose to doing that, then, yeah, we should be so inspired.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was going to ask you what the biggest challenge is for women wanting to make a difference were, but you've kind of also covered that.
Yeah. So I think, if anything, there are still challenges, systemic challenges about women stepping into roles of power and being able to find the platform to speak out, or have access to the assets that they need, like land, or like making decisions around the money or investments or things like that. And so it's not just an issue of like, hey, women, get it together and start working at this. There is a lot of work that still needs to be done for women to change the systems, to make sure that we are benefiting from all of that energy, all of that insight, all of that commitment, all of that caring that women bring to the table.
Do you have a recipe for combining your career with your personal life as well? I know it must be quite difficult to get that balance.
I have a large family. I'm very committed to my family. I love my work and very committed to my work, and have over a long career done it many different ways. Everything from, working full-time at an institution and, organization, to staying home with family for a period of time, to going back into an entrepreneurial arrangement, where I am the boss and I get to set the tone and set the rules. And I think at every stage, recognizing that it's not so much that there's work and then there's life, but it's you don't get to leave one behind and do the other. But there are definitely ways that you can make the choices that are important to you, and also set up the arrangements so that you can make that easier. So, for example, you can see I'm working from home. This is in my home. So I no longer have to commute into the city for 2 hours a day or something like that, like I did back when I was in banking. And that's definitely a big help. And making sure, I think for women always, or for families, let me say that, for families, making sure that there is appropriate childcare to support the whole family, because that is something that can really be a big a challenge and hold people back if you're on a daily basis having to force some kind of choice between, do I give my children the attention they need, or do I have to go into work today? You can't make that choice on a daily basis. You have to make sure you've got all those support systems in place.
And are there any lessons you've learned along the way, looking back on your professional career? Is there anything you would have done differently, or advice you could share?
I guess my advice is to stay curious and committed and persistent, and just the skills you learn doing one thing are going to be applied to another thing at some point. It's a long road. So just keep, one of my mantras, and we use it at Solar Sister all the time, is better every day. And that's it's really a mantra of continuous learning, that there's always more to learn. We can always be better today than we were yesterday. We can be better tomorrow than we are today. So it's having the humility to know that, we're not perfect. We're not going to be perfect, but we can be better. And it's also a wonderful absolving of, when something goes horribly wrong, and it always, at some point things do, to remember that, like, okay, put a finish to that. And so I think that self-forgiveness sometimes is really important to keep things moving forward.
And moving from that, do you think you could come up with some do's and don'ts that you've encountered during your professional journey?
Do trust in yourself. I think that the voice that you have inside of you is the most important one. Learn how to listen to it, through meditation or through spiritual practice or something. Learn to listen to that voice inside of you. There's a lot of outside influences and pressures and that can take you off track if you don't always kind of listen to what's inside of you and come back to it. And so I think that one's been important for me in my life a couple times, where the outside pressures would have taken me in a different direction, and I had to kind of come back and listen to what was true for me and make choices that were true for me that might not be true for someone else. So I think listen to that voice and learn how to nurture that voice, because it's quiet.
Great. And in terms of what the government could do you think there's any governmental framework conditions that are needed to support women as entrepreneurs?
Yes, I think because, as I'd said earlier, there's, we work with women entrepreneurs, and we are mentoring, supporting them, and trying to help them build what they can with what they have. And that has tremendous progress and tremendous success. But it's not enough, because there are these external systemic kind of obstacles that keep women from succeeding. So everything from the land rights or inheritance rights, there's a lot of legal policy level sort of things that need to be put in place or changed in order for women to be not just earning an income, but also accumulating wealth, and accumulating wealth that they could then pass along to their family. And so I think, that's a government level kind of change that needs to happen in certain countries. Also, having the government, specifically for clean energy, adopt policies and that are aware of the needs of women with respect to clean energy. So making sure that everything from starting from understanding the data and looking at the impacts of climate change, making sure that data is disaggregated so that you can see that, oh, it does affect women differently than men. And how does that mean we should change our policies to address these issues? And so, women's empowerment is just not up to women alone. It's definitely all of our issue, and including governments and political leaders and policy leaders need to get involved.
And finally, if you had one message to give to the aspiring next generation of young women who'd like to become entrepreneurs in sustainable energy, what would that message be?
My message would be that you already have everything that you need to be a success, because what you have inside of you is what it takes. All the rest of it is just part of your journey of learning how to be better and learning how to grow, but you've already got what it takes.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining us today for this interview. It was a pleasure to have you with us and to hear all of your experiences and all of your advice. So thank you for taking the time to speak to me. Yeah.
Right. Bye.
It's been great.